I've been thinking of a simple way to convey to you beautiful people that there's something kind of funny about our history. There appears to be some sort of code or storyline that the narrative follows, a synchronicity that's anything but natural. If you can start fresh and go with that gut feeling and reevaluate everything we've been taught, you could be on your way to complete insanity. So I've put together a new playlist just for the ones that want to be insane. Like me. And it's called, Don't You Think It's Funny? Now, to kick this thing off, we'll be looking into the everything's bigger in Texas. I'll kick your ass before you kick mine. Granted, from the boots on up, the Texas state capitol. Did you know that there were 8 different capitol buildings used by the Republic of Texas in the state? There's also been 6 flags flown over it, so you can thank them for being a key role in the Six Flags San Antonio ride, Man of Steel. That's the best one at Six Flags. Best in the state. Hell, best in the world. The Texas State Capitol is one of those buildings that makes you ask yourself, how did they do that? Look around your town or city and you'll notice that dumbing down isn't just affecting people, it's evident in our infrastructure too. Think about it. How many new buildings in your area have the same level of detail as the Texas State Capitol? I'm not talking about size and magnitude, but the jaw-dropping creativity that sparks your imagination and brings peace and happiness just by being in its presence. Can you imagine how different people's attitudes might be if we were all surrounded by elegance instead of the sharp angles that replace old world masterpieces, often after a mysterious fire or demolition? The go-to reasons are Gothic revival was just not in style. Okay, so you built this intricate masterpiece in 2 years, then after only 20 you demolish it just because it's not in with the times. Most of these narratives with some of these structures are just ridiculous sounding. Sure, it was a different time. They didn't have cell phones, efficient logistics, or power tools, but see, that's just my point. Steam-powered cranes weren't in use until the mid-19th century, and power tools would come later that same century. But that's just a small portion that contributes to this kind of funny story. And if you're not from Texas, when I say kind of funny, it doesn't mean ha-ha, you idiot. It means this is kind of an odd story. A story that I have no freaking clue what the answers would be. And that's okay. We don't need to know all the answers. What we do need is to question, speculate, go with your gut feeling when you know something's, well, I say it a lot, but kind of funny. This isn't a Tartarian or die kind of page. I'm just bringing up what I found. Planting seeds, bitch. Sorry, I got heated. Okay, here we go. I want you throughout this video to notice the pictures that I put on the screen. Yes, cameras were in their prime, we are told, but there are just odd photos. There's no other way to put it. The construction photos, as well as many others, make Austin and other sites look like a ghost town. The initial thought you have is, well, cameras couldn't pick up on the motions of people, so that's why it looks that way. Yeah, I don't fully believe that, but you can. There are many cities with this ghost town issue. Then you'll see a photo with a person in it, or even a group of people that just don't seem to fit. Well, what do you want, Logan? Geez, it was the 19th century. They didn't know what they were doing. Someone did, because this infrastructure says so. In 1838, the Republic of Texas secured 7,000 acres, or roughly 11 square miles along the Colorado River to establish a new capital city. Edwin Waller, who would later become Austin's first mayor, was granted the distinctive honor of designing the city's iconic downtown grid. Austin stands out among Texas cities as it was purposefully designed from the start as a government town. Okay. The city plan included 4 public squares along with essential structures like a jail, a school, and an arsenal and a strip. At the heart of the design was the future state capitol grounds, strategically placed on a hill, or maybe a mound. Was it a hill or Tumuli? Who knows? With a view of the Colorado River. Overall, man, what an effective grid layout. I don't think they could have done a better predicting job than if there was already a grid. Edward Waller had the tedious task of clearing the thickly wooded forest and transforming it into the new capital of Texas. Before Austin was a log cabin town, it was a city of tents, which it has reverted back to. No, I love Austin. The weird has gotten out of hand, though. Everybody has to agree with that. It's said that Waller showed up with 200 men in 1839 to work on the new capitol and clear the area for the 196 blocks. That's walnut, pecan, elm, and hackberry densely covered area, with other areas having post oak and live oak. Pine trees were wanted to be used for the capitol, though, but the closest pine was in Bastrop, 35 miles away. So the team hauled these planks to the city by ox, so the doors and flooring could be pine. Wow, posh. All right, Billy Bob Joe Johnson, you and Hutch are going to take old Greg the ox 35 miles to Bastrop. Well, which way is, but hell if I know, figure it out. Then you cut down the trees with this handsaw so we have pine doors. Got it? Well, I guess so, Hutch. Come on. Oh, and while Waller was in charge of the epicenter of Austin, William Sandusky would be responsible for the laying out of Austin's remaining 7,000 acres of government land, which he, of course, did extremely precise. Kind of. Regrettably, Sandusky's true story remains a mystery because he passed away young in 1847 at the age of 33. That's what the narrative says, gosh. Long before the full impact of his design became as evident as they are nearly 180 years later. What makes his story even more intriguing is that Sandusky also played a role in the planning of Galveston, a city with a grid so meticulously precise it could double as a graph paper. The contrast between Austin and Galveston people is interesting. In 1853, Texas was done with the wooden buildings. They need better and bigger, so the second capital in Austin was to be built. But everyone that studies our history knows what happened to that one. The fire of 1881 was due to a porter cleaning up, throwing some waste paper away, when the heating stove ignited it. Henry McBride did not lose his job of the fire. He, in fact, was one of the longest tenured employees who finished in 1931, half a century after his destruction. The fire hydrants were 700 feet away due to legislators not seeing it fit for money to be spent on fire hydrants at the Capitol grounds. You know, seeing how every city had great fires by now. All that could happen was a light mist. In less than 2 hours, only a black limestone shell remained of the State House. Many government records dating back to the Republic days were burned in the fire. 8,000 books was lost, with the loss of the library alone being $40,000, a massive sum for that day. But here to save Henry McBride is Frank X of the Dallas Morning News, who wrote a piece saying a rancher in Leon County was trying to claim 20,000 acres of land with forged titles when they set the fire ablaze to burn the actual records. Henry McBride was relieved. But the fire that Henry McBride may or may not have started did not stop our fellow Texans when the decision in 1882 was made to build a temporary capital. In record time of 1 year, they created the third Texas capital. The building lived happily ever after, and it still is used to... What's that? It burned too? Damn. In 1899, curious spectators sat on the fence around the newly built structure to watch the firemen scurry around for a bucket because it said that the water pressure was too low to extinguish the fire. The bricks to this short-lived building are in use around Austin and other structures. Goodness, that's unfortunate chain of events. Okay, let's get into the There was another. Wait, what? Another one? On April 9th, 1903, a massive fire broke out at St. Edward's University, one of the city's prominent education institutions down the road from the Capitol. Founded in 1877, St. Edward's had quickly become a cornerstone of higher education. However, the fire wreaked havoc on the university's main building, Old Main, which was destroyed. Reconstruction efforts began almost immediately, and by 1904, 1 year, a new, more fire-resistant building stood in place of the old one. That's really the narrative. A more fire-resistant. Let's put more fire-resistant limestone on this one. All right, cool. Tight. I tell those stories just to set the stage for what else we may discover in Austin, Texas. The Texas State Capitol is a structure that truly embodies the essence of Texas. Big. Its imposing cast iron dome reaches an impressive height of 300 feet, surpassing even the United States Capitol. Its pink granite exterior stretches 566 feet in length and 288 feet in width. The 15th century Renaissance Revival building spans 2.25 acres, offering 360,000 square feet of legislative and administrative facilities. Upon its completion, it was the 7th largest building in the world and remains the largest state capitol in the United States by square footage. Inside, visitors encounter ornate staircases with marble columns and artistry that evokes the grandeur of Rome. But amid this brilliance, one can't help but question the rationale behind such an extravagant project. I thought the legislature was a bunch of cheapos. They didn't even spend enough money for fire hydrants to be close enough to extinguish Capitol number 2. Also, picture this image. In 1888, Austin had a modest population of just 14,000 people, with most Texans living in rural areas. Over 90% of Texans lived in the countryside in 1880, dropping slightly to 82% by 1890. Why was such a monumental building erected in a city with such a small population? Was it a bold statement for the future? A declaration that Texas was destined for greatness? If so, they nailed it. And I know the population of the town doesn't necessarily pertain to this, but it kind of puts it into perspective of how outrageous this looked at the time. I mean, can you imagine not long ago Austin was just a thick wooded forest, but 40, 50 years later, it's been transformed into a bustling capital with this monstrosity dominating the skyline? I don't know, seems kind of funny. What's even more funny is the narrative attached to the construction period and the photos to go with it. Where is everyone? The Capitol's construction involved over 1,000 workers, it said, but where are they? Many of them convicts or migrants. Okay guys, this convict thing has to stop. Who are these hardened criminals? And why are they so artsy? I mean, now they can make a knife out of anything and hide contraband up their butts, but being the crew to build the one-of-a-kind Texas State Capitol, shouldn't there be a learning curve that extend the construction time longer? Obviously, I'm kidding. There are plenty of talented people in bad situations, but guys, this was the 19th century. They didn't have YouTube University to search on how to construct an Italian Renaissance revival. These brilliant convicts helped transport 188,000 cubic feet of Texas pink granite from a quarry 50 miles away, with limestone sourced from Oatmanville and granite from the boob of Texas, Granite Mountain in Burnett County. Transporting the heavy iron items from Rusk to Austin posed a significant challenge, but not with this crew of convicts. Since horse-drawn wagons would carry less than a ton over unpaved roads, which were impassable in poor weather, the railroads would provide the solution. Convicts again were assigned to build 22 miles of narrow-gauge railroad to connect the Kansas and Gulf Short Line with the Houston East and West Texas Railroad at Lufkin. A contract between the Texas Capitol Commission and contractor Gus Wilk required Rusk Prison to produce 2 million pounds of structural cast iron for the Capitol. including columns, pedestals, caps, the dome, and other ornamental works. Some of the rust castings were substituted with galvanized iron from Belgium due to weight concerns. Initially rejected due to their weight, the columns for the Capitol colonnade were ultimately installed after reconsidering the weight of granite, which would have doubled the load. I'm keeping that in. Which would have doubled the load. This is always my favorite part of these stories, is the architect. Elijah E. Myers, the Capitol's designing architect, was expected to resolve design disputes and occasionally visit Austin to comment on the work's appropriateness. However, Myers faced criticism for his inability to effectively manage the project. The records indicate that while Myers designed the Capitol, he was not responsible for supervising construction. This responsibility fell to W.D. Clark of Springfield, Illinois, who was appointed on Myers' recommendation and began his duties on November 20th, 1882. No. I was just drawing it. Yeah. I'm just drawing it. He's got it from here. Later. Myers' involvement was impaired by his failure to provide prompt responses to questions from the commission and superintendent. His delays were particularly evident during the transition from limestone to Texas granite for the Capitol's exterior, a decision driven by political sentiment favoring local materials. This change added 2 years to the completion date. Myers was also criticized for infrequent communication and inadequate responses to requests for revised perspectives and specifications. Guess the architect competition wasn't the best choice, huh? Yes, that's right. Many high-level jobs within this area were picked to be done by a competition. Get this though. Myers continued to pursue other objects during the Capitol's construction. In 1882, he worked on the Douglas County Courthouse in Omaha and the Harper Hospital in Detroit. What the f*** is that? In 83, Myers submitted plans for the City Hall for Richmond, Virginia, which we have all seen. Also in 83, he pursued the prestigious architectural post in the federal government, which would entail federal courthouses, custom houses, post offices, and other national government buildings. In 84, another success of his started to be prepared, which was the Knox County Courthouse in Galesburg, Illinois. In 1885, the correspondence in Texas indicated that he spent most of the year sick in bed, when in 1885 was said to be his busiest year. He would be prized even while his cost projections on certain projects led to accusations of incompetence or dishonesty. Given these historical details, it's worth asking, how did the Texas State Capitol come to be such an architectural marvel despite the lead architect not being present, and how was this completed within 6 years with long delays? As we keep looking at Myers' achievements, a lot of these being done during the construction of the Texas State Capitol, doesn't it raise questions? These structures are no small task. It would take a team today just as long or longer to build some of these. Plus, the history behind these involves a demolition or that pesky old fire like the Texas State Capitol. Listen, the Texas megalith is hard to wrap my mind around, but then you bring all these other structures in, like, come on. I mean, just to top it all off, his name is even tagged onto the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Guys, this is a rabbit hole if you haven't done it yet. And no one mentioned the guy that designed these wouldn't show up on site. I mean, the Colorado Capitol is another one Myers was fired from and says it was constructed in the 1890s, then opened for use in 1894. Which one is it? Like 1 year or 4 years to build? Even the max of 4 is insane. Like, people know what year the Pyramid of Giza, which is not a tomb by the way, was built, and what dynasty, but don't know the exacts on a structure that's said to be only 150 years old or so. This Colorado Capitol is interesting, and I've seen it in person, but was distracted by the man taking his shit on a bench. Denver and Austin have its similarities. Isn't it odd how a lot of these old world cities are the most effed up these days. Chicago, Galveston, New Orleans, just a thought. Drugs, violence, weather warfare. It's said that Myers designed the dome with copper exterior in mind. However, residents from across the state wanted the dome to reflect what transformed that region of Colorado, which was gold. Again, a donation would fall in Colorado's lap, just like Austin's pink granite. Cripple Creek and Victor Mine donated 200 ounces of 24-karat gold. See, when details like this seem strange or are repetitive with other stories, my mind asks, why lie about this? Or what's being hidden? Okay, well, let's dig a little more. Why would someone want to create a boring story of a gold-plated dome on a granite structure that extends into our ever-abundant electrical atmosphere? Oddly enough, I don't believe the purpose was to commemorate the gold rush. I think that maybe it's more special than that. Crystals within the granite may have functioned as a semiconductor, allowing electrical currents to flow through them just by adding the metals we've stated to the dome, inducing an electrical field. Does the phrase piezoelectric sound familiar? If not, go research it. The structure is grand. Why wouldn't the reason it's there be? Now, this is all theories, I know, but isn't it way more fun than the gold rush narrative or the, oh man, our Capitol burned, let's build an all-granite Atlantean palace? Come on, guys, y'all ready? Let's do it. Don't these elementary explanations and unconceivable tales make you want to veer off the beaten path a little? Maybe, I don't know, think for yourself? Okay, let's get to the end. Jeez. When May 1888 arrived for the Texas state capitol, there was a grand celebration to honor the absent architect and the prisoners who, though legally unable to attend, built the capitol. A warm thank you to them. It's said that 20,000 people attended the festivities to dedicate the new capitol. The celebration included military displays, concerts, fireworks. Wow, fireworks? Really? Too soon? You wouldn't want that all-granite building to burn up again, like the second capitol and the temporary capitol and the historic university down there, whatever. The city reportedly added special streetcar lines to transport the large crowds from an encampment a mile outside of town. Wow, a mile-long streetcar rail. Did the Rusk prisoners build that as well? The 50,000 tons of granite and 400-room behemoth looked magnificent. All done. Oh, what's that? There was another problem. Oh yeah, there was no furniture or fixtures inside of it. Really? The exterior was detailed, but the interior was lacking. Wah, wah, wah. It wasn't just a few rooms. Even department heads and leading members of the legislature were affected, as seen from this list. You forgot that part. Furniture? Really? Don't you think it's kind of funny? A structure this so monumental was constructed only to not have furnishings when it was done? It's like they found it or something. It's kind of funny. After years of construction, it wasn't until November 1886 that someone thought, hey yo, we got them couches, right? We did it? Oh, Gary, come on! Finally, on March 1st, 1887, Senator John Claiborne introduced a bill addressing furnishings. Thanks, Bill. This bill proposed creating a Capitol board to prepare a list of type and amount of furniture and fixtures, advertise for bids, and accept the lowest and best offers. There was even a thought of using furniture from the temporary Capitol building. So this elaborate architectural marvel was created only to use the used temporary Capitol's furniture. Henry McBride has been crying on, venting to the comptroller that he wasn't even there the day the Capitol burned. Yeah, right. In September of 1888, months after the festivities, that board advertised in newspapers, dealers, manufacturers, contractors, and others, both inside and out of Texas. According to the board's 1889 report, they hired Nicholas J. Clayton to advise on specifications. And this, my friends, is another architect you should investigate. I already have within my subpar Galveston video. I still need to do a part 2 on, but check it out. I've got a kid, alright? I'm going to blame it on him. I blame everything on my kid. That's why. It's said that history is his story. So make it his. As in you. What do you see the history being? Is it what they have told us, or does that not sit right with you? The Texas state capitol is a part of a state and country that I love so dearly. This is not to degrade, it's to empower. Stop taking other people's words for everything, including myself. I'm an idiot. Go look for yourself and see what you find. Oh, and as for the topic of this video, there's way more to uncover. That's your job, though. Tune in next time for another episode, hopefully shorter, of Don't You Think It's Funny? Where we discuss who in the hell knows. I don't know. I don't plan that far ahead. Love y'all.